Welcome back, everybody, to my YouTube channel. My guest today is my longtime friend and former FBI special agent, Mark Rossini, who was at the Alex station in the 90s, the unit specifically designed to investigate about Osama bin Laden and Al-Qaeda. Thank you for your time, Mark. Would you like to tell us something about who you are and introduce yourself a little bit?
Sure. Well, thank you, Leo. Thank you for having me. As your host has said, I'm a former FBI agent. I became an agent in 1991 up until 2008. And during half my time in the FBI, I was assigned to the CIA's Alex station, which was a CIA separate station set up specifically to monitor the activities of Al-Qaeda and Osama bin Laden. And I was at the center of, I guess, one of the greatest tragedies of our time, in that when I was an agent, when I was assigned there, my colleague and I, Doug Miller, Special Agent Doug Miller, we became aware of information that Khalid al-Mihar and Nawaf al-Hazmi had visas to come to the U.S. and indeed did travel to the U.S. And we sought to inform the FBI of that, but the CIA refused to let us communicate that to the FBI, which I believe 100% resulted in the 9/11 attacks. And no one to this day has ever been held responsible or accountable or asked as to why they withheld the information. Slowly but surely, people have been speaking and coming out and asking the same questions. And hopefully one day get to the bottom of that. But moreover, surrounding the 9/11 mystery is, of course, the happenings and goings on in San Diego, California, where the two hijackers went to upon their arrival at Los Angeles Airport in January 2000, specifically on January 15th, 2000.
Okay, of course, today we will be talking about the anniversary of 9/11 and about the disclosure of documents about the Saudi connection. So my first question is, now President Biden ordered to review and declassify documents related to the investigations about 9/11 within the next 6 months. In your opinion, what should we expect from these documents?
Well, we can expect a vast watershed of information, if you will, only though if they do not redact and black out names. What is the use of releasing documents and information if you keep constantly blacking out names? Okay, it really means nothing. So it's a lot of lip service, in my opinion. So if you're going to release the document, release the whole document, raw document, without any blacking out of names, because that always adds to the mystery as to the government's holding something back. If you're going to disclose fully. Now, that said, that rant over, I applaud President Biden for having the ability and the guts, the temerity to even talk about and even start the release of documents, whereas his predecessors only gave the grieving widows and victims of the 9/11 families lip service, only to be told that we're not going to do that at the end. Even Donald Trump had told the victims' families that he would release information, only to be told by William Barr, his Attorney General, that no, you're not going to do that. You can't do that because it infringes upon our national security. Really? So Biden, of course, went full throttle and said, you know what? I don't care. I'm going to release them. And I applaud you, President Biden, but please do not black out anything. Release the whole damn document so people can see for themselves, because it only keeps adding to the mystery as to what happened in San Diego. And of course, Omar al-Bayoumi and all the other Saudi agents and players that were around him. The truth needs to come out. Thank you.
Absolutely. The first document that was released, actually on 9/11, is heavily redacted, as you just mentioned. But it's just one document, also pretty short, about 16 pages, that proves that al-Bayoumi lied to the investigators, because he said that he met the two hijackers by chance Instead, eyewitnesses say that he was actually waiting for them. So, for those who don't know, Omar al-Bayoumi is a Saudi person who helped logistically two of the hijackers of Flight American 77 who crashed into the Pentagon. What do you think about the fact that now we know for sure that he lied to the investigators?
Look, we have known all along that he's an outright liar, okay? And he helped perpetrate murder. He is a liar. I'll say it again. And he needs to come back to the U.S. and be interviewed here, not be interviewed like he has been interviewed over in the U.K. and then eventually in Saudi Arabia, where he lied through his teeth again. He went to Culver City, L.A., part of Los Angeles County, went to Culver City, to the Mediterranean Grill, and was waiting there for the two hijackers. His story about how he bumped into them is a lie. He was a Saudi agent sent to operate in the United States in order to monitor the activities of Saudis who might be hostile to the kingdom. What we still haven't sorted out was who was more powerful or was more powerful in Saudi Arabia at the time, the Ministry of Religious Affairs or the actual House of Saud. At that time, who was taking orders from who? I really don't know, but all I know is al-Bayoumi was taking orders from the kingdom to be their eyes and ears on the ground. And then when these two gentlemen arrived from Malaysia, his orders were to monitor them and see what they were doing. Now, we don't know. Did the Ministry of Religious Affairs push more and say, well, aid them in their mission? Or was he there acting as an agent of the Mabahith in order to monitor them and report on them? We'll never really know until he tells the damn truth, but he hasn't told the truth ever, so I don't expect anything from him. You know, it's what we need to understand about Saudi Arabia is that they are guided by religion more than civil law, okay? And hopefully, I think maybe Biden's decision to release the documents maybe as part of the overall strategy of MBS, who will eventually become the king, in order to push that Wahhabi, push that Ministry of Religious Affairs power to the side. This is maybe just a nice salvo. Let's see, we see some real change. But again, Omar al-Bayoumi, a liar. Omar al-Bayoumi, a Saudi government agent. Omar al-Bayoumi's mission, one, either to help the hijackers in their evil, or two, monitor their activities and report it back to the Mabahith. And until he talks, we'll never know.
We don't even know if he's still alive, actually. We don't know anything about him.
No, I think he was alive as of maybe a year ago. I believe he was interviewed as far as the civil lawsuit that the families of 9/11 are suing the kingdom for under the new JASTA law. I'm pretty sure he's still alive, but he'll never be allowed to leave the kingdom.
No, I know. Do you think there's been a change of pace towards declassifying documents that might prove Saudi Arabia responsible for assisting the hijackers? Because in 2016, the 28 pages were declassified. Now, these new documents, do you think the US government is still shielding Saudi Arabia as they did right after 9/11?
The U.S. government shielding Saudi Arabia. Yeah, because the U.S. government is blackmailed by them.
Yeah.
Okay, because of the oil, the access to light sweet crude. And if I speak too plainly for people, you can turn off the channel and not listen. But that's the reality. Oil runs the world, and access to light sweet crude runs the world. It is what it is. Get over it. This is the truth. This is the reality. Okay, so America essentially, kind of had really no choice, but because the overarching thing that keeps our country the way it is because of the access to oil. And oil runs the world economy. Oil is traded in US dollars. It is not traded in rubles. It's not traded in euros. It's not traded in pesos. It's traded in US dollars. And that is a deal that we made at the end of World War II with the Saudis, okay, and with the eventual creation of OPEC. And nothing is going to endanger that. So America had a lot of national security issues at stake, as William Barr had told Trump, because the Saudis get mad at us, OPEC gets mad at us and says, you know what, screw you. We're going to trade in euros now. Your dollar's now going to have zero value. So, America did protect them because it was protecting their own interest. And there's just too many delicate issues going on vis-a-vis the whole Middle East, vis-a-vis the Sunni Shia issue, the safety and security of Israel, the fact that we can have air bases over there. There's a whole hodgepodge of stuff that goes on when we're talking about Saudi Arabia and access to oil. So again, I could see America, well, I could see the bureaucrats wanting to keep all that information and that intel secret, not to disturb Saudi equities. But what is more important, oil or the blood of innocent victims? Where do you draw the line? Where do you draw the line in the sand? Do you draw the line in the sand with black petrol, or do you draw it with red blood? Where do you stand on the moral side of the equation? I mean, if we don't have the truth, and if we don't value life, then what are we? It's pitiful and shameful. We've had to wait 20 years for any kind of movement. It's pitiful and shameful. And selfishly, I'm going to say this. I've been screaming about this for so long. And now finally people are starting to say, that guy's not so wrong. He's not such an idiot. Because we coddled them. Okay? I get it. National security issues. I get it. Our economy is affected by the price of petrol. I understand that. But where do you draw the line when it comes to people being killed? And that's what's really at stake here. So hopefully, maybe Mr. MBS is maybe seeing the future and saying, you know what? Our dependency upon the Ministry of Religious Affairs to control our kingdom is not so good for the long-term future. Let's start to be more open. Let's answer these questions. Let's get the truth out there. Let's understand what happened. I personally do not believe that any member of the royal family, if you will, the Saudi government, wanted 9/11 to happen. That doesn't serve anybody's interests. But I have no doubt in my mind that certain individuals who are a member of the Ministry of Religious Affairs did and had no issue with it happening.
So, Mark, you already answered part of the question, but I would like you to elaborate.
Go ahead.
Well, we've been collaborating for 5 years now, so I know your positions very well because you've been providing me consultancy for my 9/11 blog. And I know that, in your opinion, the Saudis in the States wanted to recruit the two hijackers as informants. Do you still hold that position? Because even if you consider like the dry run they did in 1999 from Phoenix, Arizona to Washington, D.C. on an American West Airlines plane, do you still hold that position?
I hold the position that I believe the CIA believed that the Saudi Mabahith would help them recruit. Now, again, until someone in the Saudi Mabahith and Omar al-Bayoumi talk about exactly what their mission was, then my musings are just pure, speculation. But I can only suppose that the reason why the CIA would not let the FBI know about their arrival in America is that the CIA had an unrealistic or delusional belief that the Saudis, via their agent Omar al-Bayoumi, would report back to them on what these guys were doing in the eventual hope that maybe they could be approached for recruitment, even by the Saudi Mabahith, to find out. But I kind of have a funny feeling the Ministry of Religious Affairs interfered in that and disturb that. So I just don't know yet. I have to get, again, with Omar al-Bayoumi's full confession and giving up the ghost, then we'll know exactly who gave him orders and directions. But I cannot discount the fact that the CIA wanted to let the Saudi Mabahith have a free hand in trying to possibly gain information from these two men via Omar al-Bayoumi, and with an eventual hope to approach or try to recruit, or maybe introduce an undercover agent into the cell. But it failed horribly and miserably.
Well, let's talk about Afghanistan, which is another hot topic these days. Was this mess that is going on the only possible ending, in your opinion?
Look, Afghanistan is a hellhole. Okay, let's, again, beating around the bush. I'm not politically correct, but I don't care. We never should have been there in the first place. We should have gone in there like we did, right after the attacks 9/11, get rid of the Taliban, get rid of bin Laden, and then leave. but we stayed for, I don't know, for what, our ego, for a delusion that they were going to turn into another a Western country where they'd access to the oil and the minerals that are there. I don't really freaking know. But we all know it was a goddamn mistake, and we should have left by the end of 2001. And you know what? We couldn't. Afghanistan has been Afghanistan for centuries, just a collection of nomadic tribes. It's never been a real country. We have no business being there. And there was no other way for this to end. No way. Trump made the deal with the Taliban. You know, Mr. Rah Rah, Patriotic America, made a deal with terrorists. Do people get that through their freaking head? He made a deal with terrorists, okay? Actually had the gall to have them come to Camp David on the eve of 9/11 until there was an uproar. Even his own psychopaths in his own party said, you can't do that, and that was called off, okay? But he made a deal with the Taliban that Biden fulfilled. Let's get that straight, okay? Now, was it botched? Was it wrong? I think President Biden took it on the chin, went on national television and said, the fault lies with me. And even to the question that even I had, saying, well, why did you get all the Americans and all the people that helped America out first? He said, because that would have created, if I remember correctly, a phenomenal confusion and would have laid bare our plans, what we were doing, and it might have even turned to more chaos. So we had no choice but to abruptly leave, following the deal that Trump made with the Taliban. It is awful. It is terrible. Well, let me ask you something, Leo. It's what's today's date? The 28th, 29th of September?
8th.
28th. Anybody talking about it anymore? Anybody talking about it anymore? It's gone out of the news cycle.
It's gone. It's gone.
It had its effect for one party to attack the other, and it's gone. And all those people screaming about those poor Afghani people there, they're going to open up their doors and bring them in and let them live with them? Oh, when they start praying to Allah in their living room, are they going to allow that too? Oh, come on. Don't. The hypocrisy just makes me sick. It's disgusting. All right? So look, what happened there was tragic. But it's not in the news cycle anymore, and no one gives a damn. They had their fun with it. It was on the front page for 2 weeks, and not even, and it's gone. So all this hand-wringing and crying and saying, you know, Biden screwed this up and he's so evil and wrong. Really? Really? And if Trump had done it, if Trump got reelected and got our troops out of there, and this happened, what would they be saying? I don't love Trump, hate Trump. I don't love Biden, hate Biden. I hate the hypocrisy. That's what I can't stand. Just look at the facts. That's all you got to do.
So you already partially said something about it, but let's set the point straight. Whose fault is this? The previous administrations by signing a peace deal with the Taliban, cutting off the Afghan government, or this administration by withdrawing so fast?
It is all our administrations, starting with Bush to even go there in the first goddamn place and not getting out by the end of 2001. There's been someone kicking the can down the road all the time, knowing eventually this would happen. So yeah, it's all their faults, if you will. Biden made the hard choice by fulfilling Trump's treaty that he made with them, or deal. He's Mr. Art of the deal, right? And he got out. And it's over. It's done. We're not there anymore. Let the Taliban live the way they want to live. The people that are there, we will try to help those who we can get out. And no one's going to talk about it anymore until it becomes politically expedient, what they call it has legs, that they can use it to attack the other party. That's all it is.
Absolutely, you're right.
Pathetic.
It is. Do you think ISIS Khorasan will be able to build and run their bases in Afghanistan as Al-Qaeda used to do in the 90s?
I'm not so sure about that. I think the Taliban views ISIS as, well, basically an intruder. You know, philosophically perhaps aligned, very allegedly pious, you know, a disdain for the West. But I believe the Taliban are more interested in controlling what they consider their country than letting ISIS grow to have a hand in it. I can see conflict coming down the road between the ISIS elements and the Taliban, definitely. However, that said, I'm not so sure how many Taliban loyalists are that loyal and that they probably can't be bribed or coerced to look the other way or even join the other side. So, future we'll see, but I don't think the Taliban are going to tolerate ISIS getting more power in the confines of what we know as Afghanistan.
In this messy situation, what's the role of American intelligence? I mean, how will they be working with ISIS-K as far as you know and as far as you can tell us?
As far as I understand it from my experience, it's going to be goddamn difficult. It's going to be very difficult. Unless they have native speaking Pashtuns and Afghanis who can infiltrate and live on the ground in Afghanistan, we're going to have a very hard time getting information that's accurate. And sometimes American intelligence is prone to believing the grandest horseshit and bullshit that is peddled. Look at that fraud Shalaby with Iraq or Curveball, okay? They'll believe any Tom, Dick, and Harry that says I got information that walks over wearing the local garb. So, how reliable is the American intelligence? Look, we'll continue to gather it via satellite, via other electronic means in order to substantiate and try to understand what's going on there. But I'm not too optimistic we're going to have any real good intel on the ground, have a network of spies, if you will, to get information out. You know what? Prove me wrong. But I haven't seen it yet. All those years that Al Qaeda proliferated, no, didn't have it. Didn't have actually someone in Al Qaeda. We're going to have someone actually in the Taliban now. Maybe somebody in the Taliban is susceptible to saying, you know what? I kind of like the Western way. I kind of like the Western money that's going to be waiting for me once I do what I got to do when I get the hell out of here. Maybe so. That's a possibility, and maybe there's somebody that might fit that bill. But right now, I would only assume we're relying upon, oddly enough, the Pakistani intel service, which created the Taliban in the first place, and whatever satellite imagery or electronic overhears that we can pick up.
Okay.
But what do they do all day long, the Taliban government? What do they do? Do they govern? Do they actually have a treasury? Do they actually pave the roads and build schools and collect the garbage? What do they do? They do nothing.
No, they do not.
It's nothing. It's gonna crumble.
It's just a harsh regime with, violence and bribes. That's it.
That's all it is. That's all it is. And even at the end of the day, they don't even goddamn know what they want. They don't even know. They one day to the next, their goals will change. Again, hypocrites and frauds. That's all they are, hiding behind the mantle of religion. All it is. Terrible, terrible. And and like usual around the globe, whether it's a corrupt African dictator or leader, the poor are only going to suffer. The poor women and children and men in those countries are just going to suffer, be impoverished, starve, not going to get anything in life. The cycle continues. It's disgusting. Disgusting.
Mark, thanks for your time. Once again, your point of view is always... Sorry?
Nothing else you want to ask me? Nothing else you need to ask me?
Nothing else for this time. So
Okay.
It's always very interesting to hear about your thoughts, your insights, and your opinions. So thanks for your time. Thanks, my viewers, also for watching this, and see you next time.